Hey, so we're looking at finding zeros this week. We're going to start with linear equations. It's a bit of a review. I think a lot of you know how to do this already, but I just want to go over it just to make sure we're all starting from the same level. Um, so when we say we're finding intercepts, we also call it finding the zeros, because where a zero is where an intercept will happen. So if you got an equation like, y equals minus 1.5x plus 3, the easiest way to graph it is if you've got 2 points, because it's a straight line, you can just draw a line between them with a ruler. It makes it really easy. And the easiest points to find are the ones that are x or y is 0. So your y-intercept is when your x is 0. You know it's going to be right there. Your x-intercept is where your y value is 0, and you know it's going to be right there. So if I knew the y-intercept was 0, 3, I'd just go 0, 3, make a dot. If I knew the x-intercept was 0, 2, I'd just go 0, 2, make a dot. Then I'd connect them. You could draw that graph really fast. So these are called the zeros. And don't forget, when we write it, right points are written x, then y. So 0, 3 would be 0x, 3y. 3, 0 would be 3x, 0y. All right. How do we find them? Well, y-intercept's pretty easy. You just plug in 0 for x and see what the equation gives you. So plug in a 0 for the x. Remember, anything times 0 is 0, and that's why typically if it's in standard form, this is your y-intercept, because that's all that's going to be left. So I know my y-intercept is 3. So I know that point would be 0x, 3y. That would be a point on my graph. To find the x-intercept, a little trickier because you have to make one extra step. So to solve for something, you need to isolate it. So you need an answer that ends up looking like x equals something, because that will tell you what the x equals. So, for example, we write out our equation, set y equal to 0. Now I need to get x by itself. Now, the order of operations when you're solving is backwards. You add and subtract first, then multiply and divide. So, start off, I've got a plus 3. I don't want that 3. I want the x by itself. So I'm going to move it over to the other side. And the way you do that is you reverse the operation, or if you like to think of it, of subtracting 3 from both sides. Personally, I like just saying, okay, it's plus 3 on that side. I want to move it over to the other side. It becomes minus 3. Flip the operation as you flip the side. So you got minus 3 is minus 1.5. Want to get rid of that minus 1.5 to get x by itself? Well, the operation, it's 1.5 times x. So I want to divide the other side by minus 1.5. So you divide minus 3 by minus 1.5, you get 2. And then if your math teacher wants you to write with the thing you're solving for, on the left, there's no difference between 2 equals x and x equals 2. So honestly, I always just leave the thing I'm solving for by itself, and then if I need to at the end, I just flip it. So now I know my x-intercept is x is 2 when y is 0. So let's try another one. What are the x and y intercepts of this one? These went too far forward. So y equals 6x plus 3. So write it out. To find the x and y-intercept, set x equal to 0. Well, 6 times 0 is 0. 3, so y is just 3. What's the x-intercept? Well, we set y equal to 0. So 0 plus 6x plus 3. So plus, we want to move it across, we make it minus. So minus 3 is 6x. I want to get the x by itself, so I have to divide by 6. So minus 3 divided by 6 gives me my x. So x is minus 0.5. So you go to half and back a half and you're good. Those are your equations. So to find the x, you make y equal 0. To find the y, you make x equal 0. Pretty easy. If it's not written like that, let's say I give you something written really weird, like this. Well, it's just as easy. Just plug in a 0 and it'll clean up right away. In fact, this is going to be a little faster to solve, because if I want to find the y-intercept, I plug in x equals 0. Well, this whole term goes away and I just get 3y equals 7. So y is going to be 7 divided by 3. Flip the operation, move it across. So 3 times y, it would be 7 divided by 3. To find the x-intercept, you plug in y equals 0. So just replace your y with a 0. Well, 3 times 0 is 0. So 5x equals 7. 5 times x, you move it across. You get 7 divided by 5 equals x. So really fast, really easy. Don't overthink this, okay? Just plug in a 0, figure out what you got left. All right? That's how we solve for this. Next lesson, we're going to look at how to solve it for quadratics. That may sound really tough, but if you understood the factoring part, it's actually just as easy as doing this. All right, thanks very much. See you guys next time.